All right, this is something I've been dreading since I got this kit back in February 2020, is cutting this clam to make that engine fit. So today has come the day. We are gonna cut this thing. So let's do it. Here we go. Well, we got a blizzard going on here in the Northeast. Supposed to get 12 to 18 inches of snow. Super windy, gusty. So no better place to be on a day like this than right here. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dan Dulac and I am building a V10 powered Ultima Evolution convertible. This is episode number 31. If you missed any of the previous 30 episodes, be sure to go back into my channel and check those out. There's a lot going on. Now, on this episode, we've got a lot to catch you up on, and I decided to go back and take another hard look at my intake system. Yes, for a third time. Hopefully, third time's a charm, because I think I've got a winner on this one. I decided I wanted something a little bit more OEM-like and go with air boxes versus the air cylinders that you saw me work up in the last couple of episodes. I was actually inspired by a Ferrari F40. If you look at the engine bay of an F40, there are a couple of air boxes flanking the exhaust system, just like the setup in my car. So I was inspired to take a look at, see if I could design myself a pair of air boxes. So I did just that. I designed a pair of air boxes with CAD and then printed them out on my 3D printer and then skinned them up in carbon fiber. Here's a quick shot of one of the pieces finished. This is actually the lid to one of the air boxes. Carbon fiber infused nylon and then skinned it with 2x2 carbon fiber. And then I also made myself some carbon fiber tubes as well. So we're gonna take a look at how I did that in this episode. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot to catch you up on. So let's get started. All right, here's my trusty old Fusion 360, and you can see here the two air boxes, both passenger and driver's side air boxes. The side holes you can see on the side are for what I'll hook into the NACA ducts that'll be on the top of the clam. And as you can see here, I had to slice them into 4 pieces each just to fit on my 3D printer so I could print them in 4 pieces each. Here you can see the boxes are somewhat angled to align with the chassis, so those will sit on the back of the chassis nice and flat and cleanly to use up the available space here. So they came out nice, and the next thing is to put these on the 3D printer, so let's do that. Okay, here is what I hope is the final version. Printed 4 pieces, again, due to my small format 3D printer. Had to cut the box into 4 different pieces here, but these 2 pieces are the lid, these 2 pieces are the bottom, and I'll just use some JB Weld to glue them together, and then ultimately I'll be skinning these in carbon fiber, so shouldn't be an issue as far as appearance goes. As you can see here, I've got some securing holes here. These are 3mm holes, 4 of them. This will secure the lid onto the base. And the way this will sit in, I basically installed a flange on here. So that's the female, and then this is the male flange that sits. There we go, just like that. It's a snug fit, which is good. And then I'll use some threaded inserts to put in these tabs, and that will give my screws some nice threads to secure into. So let's get some JB Weld going on here. Let's glue these parts up, and then we'll see what this box looks like. Got these boxes just taped on the car temporarily so you can see how they can mount, or how they will mount. But you can see the air filter sticking on the side. This is where I'll put in an elbow of some sort and get that cold air from the clam feeding down in here. And then again, that drain I'll put right under here. And I'll maybe even, when I mount this, angle it back just a little bit so that water flows towards the back. And that will drain nicely. But these air boxes are nice and low profile. I did try the clam. I did put the clam on to check for clearance. In fact, my original design, these boxes were a little bit too tall, about 1 inch too tall, so I had to lower them and then print before I printed the final version. But those are all in. You can see the screws I used. I printed some recessed holes in there, so these M4 screws sit nicely. I did a conical filter in here versus a panel filter. I considered, in fact, my original design in the airbox, I made it so that I could put in a panel filter in there. But anyways, I decided with the conical, mainly because I already have them. So I just will reuse those and make those work. And now what I'm gonna do is skin these in carbon fiber. Never done this before. I'm gonna try this. Both just the cover and the airbox base, I'm gonna skin in carbon fiber on both sides. And while I'm at it, I think I'm gonna try creating a set of carbon fiber intake tubes as well to kind of go along with it. It'd certainly be lighter than this aluminum, and I can shape them any way I want and then join them up to the air boxes. So that's gonna be a fun project. I've already got started on some of that, so let me show you where I'm at. All right, on the bench here are some 3D printed designs I created. And what I did was basically replicate a 3-inch intake tube, the aluminum pieces I had. This is actually in PLA plastic, a little bit more rigid. And I actually saw on a builder online, actually created some carbon fiber tubes by wrapping the carbon fiber around this PLA and then soaking this PLA, the whole tube once it cured up, in hot water, about 180-degree water, to melt the PLA a little bit, and then it could be pulled out of the tube. Now this is a pretty long piece that would probably work given it's only 1.2 mils thick. But rather than this, I'm gonna try something that I don't know has ever been done before. I looked around on YouTube and I couldn't find anybody using PVA. So there's a filament called PVA, and PVA is essentially Elmer's glue. It's the same material Elmer's glue is made of, but there's a filament that you can print with. And normally this filament is used for support material. So if you've got a dual extruder printer, you can use a combination of regular filament with this PVA filament. And then what happens is this stuff melts easily with water. You just soak it in water and it will melt away. So I printed a couple of these in PVA, couple of intake tubes, and again, these mimic the aluminum tubes that are already on the car. Same bends, same lengths, everything. I designed them exactly the same. And what I'm thinking I can do with these is, again, wrap them with some carbon fiber sleeve, and once it sets up and cures up, I just dump the whole thing in some warm water, and then this PVA will just melt away, leaving just the carbon fiber tube. Now this stuff to print is a little bit tricky. It's very temperature sensitive and it's very soft. And so, in fact, you can see up here some of the overhang where I printed. It's a little bit funky. This one's a little bit worse, but I think I can just fill that with epoxy. And then when I put the carbon fiber sleeve on it, that will be fine. But it's a little bit funky, it's a little bit fragile, but I think this is gonna work perfect. The other thing I did was, once these are done in carbon fiber, I 3D printed these MAF sensor adapters. If you remember on the last episode, I bought an aluminum pair of these that I welded up on the aluminum tube, but I reverse engineered them and 3D printed a pair that I will just bond onto these intake tubes once the carbon fiber is cured up and set up. And that will give me a nice place to adapt the MAF sensors. And to make those, Again, I just used this carbon fiber infused nylon and some heat thread certs in there, and that will work pretty well, I think. Here is the sleeve I'm going to use, 12K braided biaxial sleeve. This is a yard long, and we're going to try this out. So I'm going to take you along for the ride, and we're going to see how this is going to work out. Here's a cool thing with that PVA, since it's somewhat translucent, you can see where it's wetted in and where it's not. So even from looking from the inside, I haven't even started to put epoxy on this back corner yet, but you can see that's pretty cool. Good indicator if you get enough epoxy wetted in there as the first coat goes on. I just put the second coat of epoxy on these babies, and looks like it's coming out pretty good. So I'll wait for this to get into B stage, which is tacky, and put a third coat on. Then I think those will be ready to sand after they're dry and be good to go. So in the meantime, I am also going to skin these air boxes in carbon fiber. So I'll skin the lid first, and then I'll skin the box as well. And I'm not sure if I showed you the inside of the box, but basically I printed this elbow. This I will glue in there at the appropriate angle, and then the air filter slides over the flange with just a basic worm clamp, and that will secure it there. And the filter just kind of sits down at an angle towards the air intake there. So let's get set up here, get these skinned. I've got some basic 2x2 twill that I'm going to use on this. I think I'll be able to lay it up in one piece. Cut a hole here just to wrap it around the edges, and we'll try it. I got a little bit of sanding to do here just to smooth out some of these 3D print defects there, but other than that, I think this is good to go. So let's get set up to skin these in carbon fiber. First coat of epoxy's on, and I'm at B stage. It's just tacky. Another cup of epoxy mixed up, ready to go. So we're gonna put on coat number 2, nice and heavy here. And then I'll let this fully dry, then sand it, then do another coat or 2 if needed. And over here, second coat is on the tubes. I'm letting these fully dry, and then I'll sand these as well. I got this one trimmed out, just finished it up off camera. So let's get these trimmed out. Then we're gonna dip these in water to dissolve away the PVA cores. Let's do it. All right, this has only been in the water for about 20 minutes. You can see it's starting to peel away in there. So that is sweet. Pull this out. All right, well, we'll let this soak some more, but that's not gonna take long. Come out of there once water gets behind that PVA. Yes. That is awesome. Perfect. Whee. Yeah. Look at that. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to see. So that was only in the water for about 20 minutes before I just started using the blade to just pick at it and unlock it. That is sweet. Only a couple air bubbles in there, not too bad. That's plenty thick enough and rigid enough. Nice. Out awesome. Perfect. right, let's sand these, polish these up. These will be done. All right, I've got the rear clam on. I am getting ready to take my final measurements to do some cuts here. And so I've got this traced out, cut out there. You can kind of see right underneath the throttle body, which is where we're gonna have some interference. And underneath, I'm actually glad I'm doing these carbon fiber intake tubes, because I don't think these aluminum ones are gonna work, because I'm gonna have to reroute them a little bit. Let's see if you could see up in there where that air scoop ridge is gonna touch that air intake tube. So that tube needs to slide inward. I'm gonna have to route those intake tubes a little bit differently, tweak them a little bit. Since I've already cut and powder coat those, I would destroy them redoing them anyway. So I'm gonna make sure that's right. But as far as the air boxes go, air boxes have good clearance up in there. That should work out nice on the side. And then similarly on the other side, looks pretty good. But you can see again, up there is where that intake tube is, right on the ridge of that air scoop. So again, I have to run that intake tube more inward and then route to the air box. And then it will fit. Should tuck up nicely up under that air scoop area of the body. That's what I'm gonna do. Now that I know I can pull this thing back off, we will get to cutting those ridges. Well, clam's back on, but as you can see, not yet closed. We're closer. The interference point is still on this intake plenum right here, this little shoulder. I've got it covered with tape, just to prevent it from scratching, but yeah, the electronic throttle body will clear here. Maybe widen this a little bit and that will clear. I'm gonna have to widen this anyway to get this to clear. Don't know yet if I'm just gonna trim what I need, just whittle it little by little, or just go gangbusters on this and just widen this hole a little bit bigger. Don't know yet, but this side looks okay. I might have to widen it too a little bit again, because it does need to come down another 3 inches, 4 inches, and it'll come forward a little bit too. And my intake hose here is just rubbing a little bit. So I don't know, we'll see. I may end up, I don't know yet. I'm not gonna say anything yet till I figure this out a little bit more. But yeah, this lip here will clear. I might have to come up maybe 3 or 4 more millimeters, just trim that, and then that will clear over the top of that plenum once I get this last remaining interference point cleared up here, right here. So I'm gonna let this be for now. I'm gonna think on it a little bit to figure out what I'm gonna do in this area. One of the thoughts I've had is taking out this entire scoop and putting in a piece of clear plexiglass or something like that, and make a mold and actually curve it, make a curved piece there. I've seen a couple of builders do that. So anyway, so I'm gonna noodle on this. Again, I don't know that I'm gonna have to create this hole that much bigger, and I think I can make it integrate in. Again, put a mesh screen in that area when it's in. But I'm gonna noodle on it for a while. If you guys have any ideas you want to throw my way, feel free to comment below. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start working on the carbon fiber tubes for the airbox here. So I've got it all mocked up. I used some PLA 3D printed 3.5-inch tubes, kind of duct tape them together, and you can see how they route to the box. They are shorter than these original aluminum tubes I created, so again, unfortunately, not going to be able to use those. But that's okay, live and learn. That's just part of the creative process. We'll start molding these carbon fiber sleeved tubes. So let's get doing that.